I'm gonna kind of just cue this up for everybody watching, and then I'm gonna hand the mic to you.
Yeah.
So there was a time where you had to have a procedure done, that was maybe framed or presented to you in a manner that, hey, shouldn't be a big deal. Normal, common procedure, shouldn't be painful, routine checks. But it ended up turning into a situation where you weren't sure if you were being probed for top secret documents or if you were undergoing a outpatient normal procedure at a doctor's office and you may or may not have been writing a will in the moment. Is that accurate? Is that fair?
Oh yeah.
I mean, so let's kind of rewind.
Yeah. Buh, 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 buh.
We're
Turn,
going to
return it back to
rewind.
Blockbuster. Yeah.
We're
Be
going
kind,
back to
rewind.
Blockbuster. I got my VHS.
Good.
So talk to us about what led to this.
Yeah.
Take us on a journey here.
So I'll try to keep this also just for viewers, right? I wouldn't say it's a trigger warning, but if you're squeamish, right? If you're really like squeamish about stuff, health procedures,
Right.
I'll kind of give you a warning when I start getting into details. And I'll also be thoughtful about how detailed it gets, but you'll get the picture. So
real quick, they'll
yeah.
get a warning, but I don't know if you did.
Yeah. So, I'll give them the warning. I wish I had. Hey, look,
all right.
We all go through health stuff, like you said. And this was many, many years ago. And I was having some like pain in my abdominal area. Right. And they weren't sure, as we know, sometimes illness presents itself or some sort of sickness or issue presents itself very specifically and acute or very generally. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything, but having been, as you could hear my language, I've picked up over the years because I've spent a lot of time just checking things out. I've probably been on the side of being over precautious with stuff where I'll go in, I'll request tests, imaging scans, things like that. Because one of the things I've noticed, and I think it might have to do with inflammation. It might have to do with other things with like gastrointestinal. Everyone has different issues, but one of the issues with like an inflammatory issue, right? Whether that's arthritis or lupus or these different or Crohn's disease or IBS. There's inflammation is a very hard thing to always diagnose because what's the source, right? Where's it coming from? Is it a result of something else? Is it just in and of itself an issue? Again, not a medical professional. But my point is, I've been very lucky in my life from a health perspective. But the one thing I always had is like inflammatory issues. And sometimes it would affect my stomach. And in my 20s, like I was having a lot of issues in my abdominal area.
Okay.
And so I go to the doctor, and as part of this sort of like process to figure out what's going on, it wasn't going away, the abdominal issues. Like, and it was kind of,
I'm not trying to laugh at you, by the way.
No, please laugh.
For everybody watching, I am not insensitive.
Let's just give. So when I say abdominal, it was more like pain and where my bladder would be, right? And it was just like a pain. It was sort of like, oh, it just ached. It felt like a muscle ache, which is weird. And they were doing so what do you do first, right? If you do basic testing, right? So there was like, oh, okay, we're going to do some blood tests. Cool. We did some blood tests. Things came back normal. It's a great sign. Good news. Everything's
good.
Everyone confetti. Hey. Okay, so check. Problem is, pain's not going away. Okay. So what else could it be? You go to the doctor. He goes, well, we can do another test. You do a basic urinalysis. And so you do, pee in the cup. We all do it. They test it, comes back. Nothing really crazy going on here. And I was like, really? You're just expecting, oh, it's something distinct. And then I can actually get like a procedure or I can get medicine for it. Let's move forward.
Right.
This just shows how lucky I've been in the sense that like, you just go in, usually get a test and they give you a pill. We're lucky we're not living back in with the Black Plague where people are putting leeches on you. You got a cold, they got a leech attached to your neck and they're slicing your arm and doing bloodletting. There's a seance with a crow flying around. I mean, imagine these really, God, we're so lucky.
We're so lucky. Modern medicine is amazing,
Yeah. I mean, even think about my mom has a polio vaccine on her arm. And I'm thinking like, whoa, like she was on the advent of like the polio vaccine. People were walking around. Polio is coming in like a missile. Your kids, you got kids. Who knows?
It's the reality. I mean, and just what we were talking about recently, Aaron, with my eye. I mean, like modern medicine.
Yep.
I had negative 56 degrees of some type of chemical, not chemical, but substance to heal my eye put in. I didn't feel it. We're talking modern medicine is incredible.
It's incredible. No, I want to, let's keep going down because this is important. We're keeping flow organic, bro. It's so awesome. My dad recently had a knee operation.
Okay.
And he told me a story. He was like, hey, I'm speaking as him. He's like, I had to go and pick a surgeon and kind of decide which surgeon I wanted to go with. And the options were interesting. So he actually went with a surgeon who did more hands-on of the surgery. The other person like used 100% robotics.
Wow.
Like they guide it and they oversee it. Now, listen, my dad made the human choice now, but I was just having a conversation the other day with someone 30 years from now, you got to choose between a human and their possible flaws and a robot at a 99.9%. Guess what?
I'm going iRobot.
I'm going iRobot.
I'm going Will Smith. I'm going.
Shout out to Will Smith. Hope you get your life together.
Shout out to Will Smith.
Shout out to Will Smith. Rough night. We've all had them. It was a rough night. That was a rough night.
Watching that back, I thought it was staged. I mean,
I did too.
The level of concern that
I've never seen anything like that.
I've never seen. I mean, Chris. I mean, here's the thing. Look, we're sidetracking right now, and you know what? I don't care.
I don't care.
Chris Rock got blasted. He took a hit like Mike Tyson would throw a punch, and he didn't even flinch. The level of embarrassment he must have been feeling. My heart goes out. Hey, shout out to Chris Rock. Shout out to the staff.
Chris Rock. Shout out to the staff.
Yeah. All right.
Shout out to the staff.
Back to the mission at hand here.
Yeah. So I kind of just walked through. So like I go through these procedures, right? And I was just saying we're lucky, and we were just talking about how lucky we are with the different procedures and things that we can get in medicine. People didn't have that before. So anyways, I thought it was just going to be more routine. Once they didn't find anything, but the pain persisted, then my doctor was like, I want you to start going to a specialist. And I was like, okay. So you're going to go to a urologist. And I was like, I didn't like the name urologist because right away I knew it had something to do with taking a pee. That's my thought. I know it's more than that, but my thought is like, it's going to be more. Okay. So I go to this urologist, never met the guy before in my life. And right off the bat, I could tell he was, by the way, waiting. Shout out to the staff. Everyone was great to get me there. He was cool. He just was very cold. His bedside manner was very like, hey, okay. And I was like, yeah, I got this pain. He's like, great. Okay, cool. He was very quick. And he kind of knew. He goes, all right, we're going to first start you on some antibiotics. And because he thinks it's X, Y, and Z. So he goes, okay, I start taking antibiotics. Nothing stops it. Then I go back and he assesses it again. He goes, okay, well, it might be this kind of infection. It's like another set of antibiotics. Okay. Now, by the way,
pumped with antibiotics. Yeah.
By the way, this is an ending that people won't see coming. And you probably didn't even see someone coming when you asked this. So I got a special surprise.
Oh boy. You know what? It's my lucky day today, folks.
I had never been on antibiotics like this in my life. I'm just pumping them and not doing anything to like offset. I didn't know like that about like yogurt and probiotics or anything. So I'm taking antibiotics. So anyways, go through a whole course, literally a month on antibiotics. And I'm just doing what the doctor tells me to do. Still, the pain's not going away. So then they bring me in. They're like, okay, so the doctor goes, we tried X, Y, and Z. We've done the test. Overall, it looks healthy. The only way for me to investigate, to really rule anything out, I want to take a look at your bladder. I'm thinking, yeah, you can kind of look and see. And he goes, well, it's actually not on the outside of your body. We have to take a closer look. And I'm like, well, how do you get closer? He's like, well, we use a camera. I thought, how are they going to get a camera in there? And I literally said, how do you get a camera in there?
So what happened?
And he goes, well, we actually have, and here's a little heads up for anyone listening. he describes like, well, in order to do that, we have to feed the camera through your urethra. I'm like, urethra. He's like, where you pee. And as soon as he said that, Anthony, I was looking for the door.
Like, you're looking for your quickest way out at this point.
I'm literally, my eyes are moving from him and I'm looking like this. I'm looking to see behind him if I can run, because I'm like, there's no freaking way.
No way, dude.
There is not a chance we're doing this. And I'm thinking, like, how do you do this? How painful does this have to be? And he goes, listen, it's not that painful of a procedure. It's done all the time. People do this as a routine check. He tried to talk me off the ledge because he saw that I was like in a bad.
You were shifting gear.
All the blood rushed from. I was like, oh my God. And so basically he said, listen, in order to really find this out, you're going to have to go there. And I said, there's no other way.
Right.
Now, I don't know if I'm just not good at advocating for my own health, or I was younger at the time. So I was in my 20s, but I was still like an adult. I didn't really do a good job of, and I've learned this, to like look for second opinions or like look at and see, like, are there any other ways of doing this? To me, and this is where I've learned a lot. When the doctor says that this is the way, I just took it as face value. I was like, well, this is the only way.
As we all done and do a lot. Yeah.
So I didn't even bother to be like, are there other ways to do this? And the more people I talked to, it was a common practice. And the problem is that they do this procedure when you're awake. So I'm like, how do they, because my thought is like, how are they going to put me they got to put me asleep. They're like, we don't put people to sleep. What are you talking about?
It's 2000 and whatever. I mean, it's modern. Come on.
My wisdom teeth. Put me to sleep. Colonoscopy I've had. Put you to sleep. Or Twilight. I'm so
Twilight. Yeah. And you're not Robert Pattinson. You're actually Twilight. You're what?
What? And he's like, no. He goes, but it's not. It's very quick. And he was even saying, like, it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. And Anthony, imagine that week. Schedule it for a week later. For all I'm doing is obsessing about what this is going to be like.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of my head. What's going to happen?
I got to jump in here. So you get this information at the doctor's office. At any point in time, did you think that this could be happening there while you were there? Like, hey, lock the doors. Everybody drop your pants, lock the doors.
I thought he was going to do it right there. And that's why I was looking for help. I was like, someone help me.
So, like, because sometimes, like, there are procedures, like, my eye recently, I don't hate to keep going back to it, but going back to it, they're like, oh, we're going to do this right now. Right. So, like, it could have been one of those situations, but it's almost like, which side of the spectrum is worse? Would it be better to just get it done with and you don't have to, like, think about it? But now you're in a space where for 24/7, for about a week
straight, no sleep,
you're thinking about
the camera threshold.
A camera with a electrical line of something
being that's going to go through my penis
into your bladder, but while you're awake, and you're just almost like, wait, this can't even be real life. Like, you're going to get a call from the doctor at some point in the next couple of days, and they're going to be, hey, Aaron, by the way, there's been a mistake.
Exactly.
We are going to do an ultrasound. We're going to scan you from the outside. And to tell you what, we can give you anesthesia if you choose so.
Yep.
You didn't get that call.
I didn't get that call. And I didn't do enough research into it as well, because I was so caught up in the fact that, one, I still wasn't feeling good. So there was a part of me, this is one part of the story. I was almost at a point where I was at a point of no return, where I almost just had to say, like, I got to face this and do this. This is the only way. And to rule out anything serious and to at least get to stop the pain that was happening. I just have to do this thing. I'm going to face it. So I spent for 7 days just prepping myself to get the courage to not run out of the office, to go in there, to face the music for a week straight. And to your question, I'm glad I waited a week because at least it gave me some time to prepare. Anthony, they would have had to strap me down if they did it that. I'm talking help me.
There's a 911 call coming from medical room 1. He's saying he's being strapped down and forced to do a cystoscopy or something like that.
Yeah.
So
So I'm glad I had the time to wait for sure.
So
how did I get here? How did I get here, by the way?
So
I was saying to myself.
So here's the thing. Let's just talk about this. And I think that there's a lot of folks that are watching this that are probably going to be able to relate. There are 2 pathways at this point where you are in the waiting period. You go down path 1 and you just kind of trust the process. Don't think too much about it. Go on with your day-to-day. Put it in the back shelf. You get to there in a week. You're not too stressed. The other road is you're on WebMD. You're on Google. You're on YouTube. You're reading forums. You're on Reddit. You're subscribed to every freaking channel that you can to find out everything. You're most likely reading the worst case outcomes, worst case scenarios in this procedure. You could be in a headspace where 1 hour feels like 24 hours.
Yep.
Which path did you choose? Am I accurate in any of this?
You're accurate. And like today's Aaron still would struggle with it, but has been working to do the first example you gave, which is to try to breathe, meditate.
There it is.
The flow. There's only you can control so much. The Aaron that wasn't as mature with his, spiritual practice and his meditation and all these things, even just mental training and just experience in life. I was down that second example you gave and I doubled down on it.
Right.
In fact, and not only that, dude, I didn't spend enough time looking at this is what's so crazy about it. I didn't spend enough time looking at other options or like, is there any other way? Again, I'm assuming this is the only other way. What I start doing is looking at how painful the process is. I'm reading horror stories. This is no way. This is the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I can't never again. And I'm facing this. I'm looking at this thing 6 days, 5 days, 4 days, 3. I couldn't get out. I was in a vortex. Anthony, I couldn't get out. I was being marched to the guillotine.
Aaron, so
I was not graceful at all about this either. Up 24 hours, couldn't get out of bed, just constantly pacing.
The thing is, I've been there.
I'm calling people help.
In one hand, you're reading the forums, and you're reading your own last rites to yourself. In the other hand, you're writing a will.
I'm writing a will. Anthony, there was a point, and I'll let you keep moving the ship along here, but I'll just tell you this. I did face a point. Again, you could laugh at this. You could think I did ask myself this question in a lonely hour in the night where I was like, do I skip the procedure and just die from this condition?
Oh, no.
Anthony, you listen. I'm not saying I wanted to die. I'm saying in my head, do I face this thing, which is going to be horrific? And there was another part of me. I said, well, I could just ride this thing out and just see if it takes me. I'm sweating. I got the phone up. I'm about to call the doctor's office and make an excuse.
I can't come in.
I can't come in. Something crazy happened.
Aaron,
hands sweaty on the phone. I almost pressed the numbers.
Your mom's calling the doctor. Hello, this is Aaron's mother. He's not going to be able to make it into his procedure today. You're in the background eating cereal, watching Flintstones. So you get
me out of here.
You got the doctor on speed dial. You got a will on the table where you're probably, who knows? Maybe I was included in it.
To whom it may concern.
To whom it may concern. My Xbox 360 can go to Anthony. Madden 21 or Madden whatever year it was. Okay, so you do get to the point where you're like, all right, shit.
I'm going in.
I'm going in. You dress, you get up in the morning, you shower,
Breathe.
you breathe. I don't know.
Rocky soundtrack. I played
Rocky
all the way to the
soundtrack is
office.
playing. You get to the office. You walk in the door. There's nothing worse than, by the way, let's just unpack this for a second because the memories are coming back. The smell of a doctor's building, there is a distinct smell to it, and I don't know what it is. You see the
alcohol, like not in a bad way, like sanitizer, alcohol.
Yeah, you smell this smell when you walk in, and you see the suite number. You see the name of the doctor with the MD.
Yep.
You know you're going to open it up. And you know you're going to see the little window with the person that's going to check you in, right?
Got an appointment today?
Hello. So you go in, you check in, walk us through that moment.
So I walk in and I'm shaking. So like I'm like when I go to put my name, Anthony, I looked at my hand and the lady she was like, it's going to be fine. I was like, in my head, I was like, thank you. In my head, I'm like, you're not going through what I'm going through right now.
Her saying that in itself is basically saying this guy's going into the fire.
He's going into hell. He's going to face something here.
That's unimaginable.
So my hand's shaking. I put my name in and I sit down and I wait. Doctor will be right with you. They got some magazine that I would never read. I'm just looking at it thinking, what do I do? I'm pacing. Like
you're reading People and
from 2004. Yeah.
Tom Hanks Man of the Year or something. I don't know if he was in 2004.
He may have been. Yeah. I'm reading a review about Castaway. I needed Wilson with me, by the way. Needed a friend. By the way, the thing that worked out too in the relationship I was in, no one was with me.
Oof.
And wow. I know
this is a big turn of events here.
I'm a grown adult. And it wasn't that, it was just the schedule. Like she just couldn't come with me. There was just something. And
shit, I would have taken you. I might not have been living in Ohio.
You weren't in Ohio, I don't think, at the time. Right. Or if you were like a couple hours away.
I was traveling the world, Aaron.
You were. Honest. Yeah. And I was about to face some demons. And when I was sitting there, it just sucked being alone. And I realized at that time, I was like, man, it would be really great. It means a lot to have someone with you. Right. You're facing, all you have is you and your maker. And you're going into this thing, and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And so the doctor, the nurse comes out, and of course I'm like, why do we got to do all this stuff? Got to weigh me again? Didn't I just get weighed?
Let's do it again.
Why are we doing? Can we get a robot to do this? Like, why do we? You get on the thing, okay? I'm like, oh,
I was just here a week ago. Like, nothing's changed.
Yeah, she's like,
what are we doing?
Pounds. I'm stressed. And so anyway, do the thing.
7 days.
Do the high. How you been feeling? I'm like, not good, feeling terrible. She's like, I'm going to take you to this back room. Now I'm starting to look in the other rooms. Anthony, when you describe the doctor's office, I'm looking into rooms to see what's the level. Anthony, I saw people laid out. I did not like what I saw. everything. And then there was this one room. There was this old person laying on they had tubes. And the nurse saw
they're waving to you.
No, they closed the door. Shh.
Don't look in there.
Anthony, I knew, and I saw my door. I saw my cold, empty room at the end of the hallway, and I walked in there. To be honest with you, the building, I'm like, it didn't seem as clean as it should have been. So now I'm going, oh God,
here we go.
I leave. I'm like, this is not a clean room. I didn't see the doctor anywhere. Nurse comes in and she starts moving fast, like. Okay, and I was like, whoa, hold on. She's like, and she knows, like, she's like, all right, I got to do this. She's like, do this, take this out, do this thing. And I said to her, okay, before you do this, I said, do you guys use any numbing agents? And she goes,
how did we get here?
I said, because she goes, it's going to sting, but we don't use any numbing agents. I said, so I got to stand here. He's just going to do this live in action.
Wait, they didn't lay you on a table?
They had to do some examinations first to they tested some pressure stuff. Like, it's weird. It's weird. They had to do some weird stuff.
Oh
And
my gosh.
but then it came to the point where it's like, here comes the final act. Here's the main event. Doctor rolls in with a smile on his face. He's having a great day.
Of course he is.
He's not
getting this done.
Where are you? He goes, okay, got the gloves. Oh God, it's moving closer. We're inching closer to the reality. I'm like, breathe. And I was techniques. I'm like, take your mind to a different.
So you're laying down at this point. Or still
no,
standing?
You have to stand up for this one. So like I'm kind of I kind of blacked out a little bit. So I don't remember everything. But he's like, okay. And then they're like, she's like, this is good. Here again, getting a little graphic. I won't tell you specifically. They're like, they do a little wipe down with alcohol. It was cold. And I was like, is that it? She's like, we haven't even started.
Oh yeah. Okay. That was the opening act.
Anthony, all I'm going to say is that I knew when it started. And the problem was that it hurt so bad that I was like, the nurse kind of like, she's like, you don't move. And I had to like brace myself as it's happening. And and I'm closing my eyes as I'm being violated. And all I hear her saying, she goes, you can look at the camera. I was like, I don't want to look at the camera. I don't want, because you could watch it.
No,
I don't want to look. I'm in excruciating pain here. I'm like, and I'm not gonna lie, Anthony. So help me. I'm sorry. You gotta laugh it up. Help. I didn't say help, but I was like,
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you had to go through this.
I'm yelling out in pain. Anthony, I'm in a torture chamber. Help me. I wasn't saying help. I'm saying help me now as an example, but I was just calling out. And the nurse is going, it's almost done. It's almost done. I was like, how much longer? And then there's this threshold where they get into your bladder.
Right.
Once that happened, there was still pain, but it wasn't as painful. But I'm sitting there. I didn't look down. He's like, just stay still. I'm looking around. And he's like, uh-huh. And I was like, we done? I kept checking. My thing was like, when are we done? And I'm sweating. Next thing I know, he's like, we're done. And then they kind of pull the thing out slowly. And I just remember laying on they laid me on my side.
Oh,
and I'm like drooling.
Your life is flashing before your eyes.
Anthony, and by the way, what I had gone through was the highest pain threshold I had ever experienced. See, like I knew pain. I never knew pain like that.
Oh,
I'm living in a world. And when you're in that level of pain, you're in it. And the only thing I just kept trying to like put my mind in a different place.
Right.
And it kind of to dissociate from it. And when I was done, he's like, okay, thanks. We're going to check it out and we're going to do this stuff. And it was, and oh, by the way, results came back clean as a whistle.
Right.
Nothing wrong with my bladder.
Yeah.
I say I'm glad I did it, but nothing was wrong. Not saying I would want it to be wrong, but you almost want it to be like, oh, here's a pill. Yeah, you had this weird infection. Like it was like
you weren't getting answers. Yeah.
I still don't have the answers I wanted. I'll give the ending to this, and then you can kind of wrap up with any final questions. And how this impacted you in your life. What I learned, and so still no answers. I'm still scarred from this experience. I start experiencing more pain in a different part of my body. Long story short, long story long, remember I told you about the antibiotics? They still had me on these.
Oh my gosh.
3 months. And I didn't know that you're supposed to take probiotics because prolonged antibiotic use, as I learned, sweeps out all the good bacteria too. And if you do it for too long, you can have intestinal infection. I get a terrible intestinal infection, have to be rushed to the ER.
Here it comes.
Here we go. By the way, went through that, had to take more antibiotic or whatever to get rid of that. It was a 4.5 month long ordeal. At the end of the day, afterwards, healthy as a horse, never found out what was wrong with my abdominal area. Went through all of that. I might as well have just went the other road and just waited it out. Do you know what I'm saying? It was just like where's the balance of being proactive with your health, right? And then like when do you go down and then when do you just sit back? I thought I was pretty proactive doing what the doctor said. And sometimes, unfortunately, tests like these are necessary. And we clearly don't have the technology in that regard. We should, for the love of God. We have satellites up in freaking space. You can't look at a camera. In the future, they're going to laugh at us. They're like, how did people actually do that? So this all went down, bro. And I know what's amazing. There's a good part of this story because I remember you actually had to go through a similar testing. And when I told you about my experience, you did something that I didn't do. You mind tapping into that?
No,
that
not at all.
Helped? Yeah.
No, I was planning on it. I had to go through a similar test. Here's the difference. They put me under.
And I went. Well, yes. And you searched that though, didn't you? Didn't you look and see?
I did some research. I talked to a specialist and they said that
they offered you the first one though. Didn't they? Am I wrong? Didn't they say like most likely they do it without? And you had tell me if I'm wrong. You did what I didn't do. You weren't like, yes, sir. You were like, any other way we can do this? Any other way?
Yeah. So at first he said, look, you can be awake for this, or you can choose to go under. Like he presented those options to me, like right there. Yeah, in
Wish
the moment.
I had him.
Yep. And I said, now here's Aaron, I don't know if you know this or not. I talked to a nurse and I said, hey, listen, my best friend actually had this done maybe a year or two ago. He was awake for it. She said, you'd have to be crazy to be awake. Aaron, no joke. Why would you want to be awake for that? I said he wasn't given an option. Aaron, I'm not sure what's going on where you went. Look, I went in, I went under, I woke up.
Nothing.
Aaron, it's hard to imagine what you went through that day.
I'm a cautionary tale.
It's a cautionary tale.
It's a cautionary tale.
And I think the lesson here, again, disclaimer, we're not medical professionals. We're just average dudes that go through life experiences, just like everybody that watches the show. And that's what this show is about. It's about real life shit. It's like the stuff that we go through, and that's why we break it down. That's why we BID this. So do your homework on things. Anything in life. There's a saying that you learn and grow in the pain.
It's true.